The quantum-entangled scanning beam from the Zornak Deep Space Probe shuddered, its delicate crystalline sensors vibrating with what could only be described as digital confusion. Chief Researcher Vexta's multiple sensory tendrils writhed in agitation as another cascade of error messages flooded the holographic display. She had personally calibrated this scanning technology, a marvel of galactic engineering that could detect the faintest molecular signatures across light years of space. It had mapped thousands of planetary systems with unparalleled precision, categorizing worlds with a clinical efficiency that had become the hallmark of the Galactic Confederation's scientific prowess. But Earth defied everything. The planetary classification algorithms, developed over 3 millennia of interstellar exploration, had always been straightforward. Planetary habitability was a careful mathematical equation of environmental factors. Class 1 through 5 represented garden worlds, ideal for most known sentient species. Classes 6 through 9 were marginal environments, requiring moderate technological intervention. Class 10 marked the absolute threshold of survival, a brutal planetary landscape that demanded specialized equipment and genetic modification just to breathe. Anything beyond Class 10 was theoretical. Until now. The scan of Earth returned numbers that made no sense. Radiation levels that should have sterilized any complex molecular structure. Atmospheric composition riddled with toxic compounds that would liquefy most known respiratory systems. Geological instability that suggested the planet should be tearing itself apart. Predatory ecosystems so complex and aggressive that they bordered on planetary-scale warfare. Temperature variations that swung from molecular breaking cold to surface melting heat with terrifying rapidity. The classification matrix kept returning the same impossible result. Class 13 Deathworld. Impossible, Vexta muttered, her translation implant converting the complex linguistic clicks of her native tongue into standard galactic communication. She initiated a manual override, routing the scan through multiple verification protocols. Each pass returned the same horrifying conclusion. The probe's quantum-entangled memory banks began displaying supplementary data that only increased the research team's mounting hysteria. Images of complex urban structures, technological signatures, billions of life signs, not just surviving, but thriving. Senior analyst Krentok approached, his exoskeletal framework trembling with a mix of scientific excitement and primal fear. "The preliminary analysis is complete," he reported, his vocal modulator barely containing a tremor. "Shall I summarize the findings?" Vexta's primary sensory cluster pulsed with an emotion closest to what humans might call dread. "Proceed." The holographic display shifted, revealing a comprehensive breakdown that looked more like a nightmare than a scientific report. Planetary CLA's Sci-Fi HFY. Earth. Tariilina and Erwi 3TASSES assessment. Catastrophic. In vigoron me intl effectors. Atmospheric toxicity. 97.6%. Lethal to known species. Radiation levels. Beyond survivable parameters. Geological instability. Constant tectonic disruption. Predatory ecosystem complexity. Extreme. Temperature variance. Molecular destruction range. But the most terrifying line item was the population count. Scientific species population. 8 billion plus. Survival status. Active. Expanding. Unmodified. How? Krentok whispered, a sound that carried millennia of scientific understanding collapsing in a single breath. Vexta's response was automatic, a researcher's instinct fighting against the rising tide of impossible data. "We need to investigate further. Prepare the preliminary contact protocols." Little did they know, their definition of contact was about to be completely rewritten. In the vast research facility that served as the Galactic Confederation's primary xenological analysis center, the first inklings of a profound universal truth were taking shape. Humanity was not just another species to be cataloged and understood. They were something else entirely. something that would make the entire galaxy reconsider everything it thought it knew about life, survival, and the very nature of existence. The diplomatic shuttle Celestial Envoy approached Earth's orbital space with all the cautious precision of a bomb disposal unit approaching an active warhead. Ambassador Krultax had specifically chosen this mission's crew with the kind of meticulous care usually reserved for potentially terminal medical procedures. Junior diplomatic liaison Zorlin checked her environmental seal for the 17th time, her translucent exoskeleton reflecting the nervous energy that permeated the shuttle's bridge. 3 junior xenolinguists huddled around communication systems that looked more like complex medical equipment than communication devices. Each bore the insignia of the Galactic Confederation's most prestigious First Contact training program, and each looked like they were contemplating a career change. Initiating Standard First Contact Communication Protocol, announced Senior Communication Specialist Renpak, his multiple sensory tendrils hovering over a console that represented centuries of diplomatic interaction technology. What happened next would be discussed in diplomatic circles for generations. The initial transmission was supposed to be a carefully crafted mathematical sequence, a universal language of prime numbers, and fundamental physical constants. A message so scientifically pure that any advanced civilization would immediately recognize it as an intelligent communication attempt. Humans responded with something that defied every known protocol. The first signal burst contained a complex mathematical proof demonstrating an advanced understanding of quantum mechanics, a musical composition that seemed to simultaneously communicate emotional states, what appeared to be instructions for preparing something called barbecue sauce, a brief video clip of something called a cat doing something inexplicable involving a cardboard box. The universal translator suffered what could only be described as a nervous breakdown. Renpak's sensory tendrils went completely rigid. I don't understand, he stammered, a phrase rarely uttered by a species renowned for its linguistic sophistication. Ambassador Krultax leaned forward, the diplomatic equivalent of holding one's breath. Replay the transmission. Slowly. The mathematical proof was breathtaking in its elegance, solving a quantum entanglement problem that the Galactic Confederation's top researchers had been struggling with for decades. But it was embedded within a musical composition that seemed to communicate complex emotional states through what humans called heavy metal music. The barbecue sauce recipe was equally perplexing. Buried within seemingly random ingredient combinations were subtle references to advanced metallurgical processes. The video of the cat appeared to be a deliberate communication method that suggested a civilization that could find profound meaning in absolute absurdity. "They're testing us," whispered Zorlin, her voice a mixture of terror and grudging respect. The communication systems began picking up additional transmissions, news broadcasts, entertainment signals, scientific documentaries, a cacophony of information that painted a picture of a species that was simultaneously primitive and incomprehensibly advanced. A human news segment showed what appeared to be a routine workplace safety demonstration. In the background, someone casually walked past a scene that would have required full hazardous environment suits for any other known species. The humans appeared completely unbothered by conditions that would have killed most galactic civilizations. "Prepare for direct communication attempt," Krultax commanded, his voice a model of diplomatic calm that barely concealed an underlying current of pure primal anxiety. The response came faster than anyone expected. "Hey there, space friends," came a transmission in perfect galactic standard, accompanied by what appeared to be an image of a human making what they called a peace sign with their fingers. "Welcome to Earth. Want some coffee?" In the entire history of the Galactic Confederation's First Contact protocols, no scenario had ever prepared them for this. The shuttle's communication systems, designed to handle the most complex diplomatic interactions in the known universe, seemed to collectively decide that this was well beyond their pay grade. Ambassador Krultax took a moment, a pause that spoke volumes of the profound shift happening in galactic understanding. "Well," he finally said, "this is going to be interesting." an understatement that would become legendary in diplomatic circles. Dr. Renlock's research facility looked more like a combination of a medical nightmare and a place of worship. Holographic displays cascaded with human biological data, each new revelation more impossible than the last. The xenobiological scanning array, a marvel of galactic medical technology that had mapped the genetic structures of over 10,000 sentient species, was practically vibrating with existential confusion. "This is not possible," Renlock muttered, his tri-lobed brain struggling to process the data streaming before him. The human biological scans defied every known principle of life sciences. Cellular structure, impossible. Genetic resilience, beyond comprehension. Healing capabilities, borderline miraculous. The first truly shocking revelation came from a medical record of a human identified as Dave Martinez, a construction worker who had survived an incident that should have been fatal by any known biological standard. The medical report read like a horror novel disguised as a workplace accident log. Incident Martinez, Daviide, fell 12 meters from scaffolding. Rebar penetration through multiple body regions. Exposure to electrical current. Simultaneous chemical contamination. Ambient temperature extreme. -5 degrees Celsius. OUKCOM. Survived. Returned to work after 6-week recovery. Renlock's junior researcher, Kixta, pulled up the cellular regeneration scans. Human cells didn't just repair themselves. They attacked damage with what could only be described as murderous intent. Where most species would require months of regenerative therapy, human bodies treated serious injury like a mild inconvenience. The radiation resistance was perhaps the most terrifying discovery. Most known species would experience catastrophic cellular breakdown at radiation levels that humans considered mild workplace hazard. The medical scans showed humans who had worked in nuclear facilities around high radiation equipment experiencing minimal genetic degradation. What would sterilize entire planetary populations was, to humans, essentially background noise. "Look at this," Kixta said, highlighting a particular genetic sequence. "Their DNA repair mechanisms don't just correct damage. They seem to learn from it. It's like their entire genetic structure is a continuous adaptation algorithm." The immune system scans were equally terrifying. Human white blood cells didn't just defend against pathogens, they hunted them with a level of aggression that bordered on biological warfare. Viruses that would decimate entire alien civilizations were treated by human immune systems like minor inconveniences. A particularly disturbing case study involved a human medical record of someone surviving a combination of infections that should have been instantaneously fatal. The patient's medical notes included a casual notation: "Patient complained more about missed work than actual illness." Dr. Renlock pulled up comparative biological charts. The differences were stark. Species survival parameters. Galactic Confederation average radiation tolerance, 0.05 SV/year. Zornak maximum genetic stability, 0.1 SV/year. Human observed radiation tolerance, 50 to 100 SV/year. Cellular regeneration speed. Galactic Confederation average, 6 to 8 weeks. Human observed, 3 to 4 weeks. Immune response. Most species, defensive. Humans, aggressively adaptive. "They're not just surviving," Renlock whispered. "They're evolving in real time." The genetic research team had reached a collective moment of scientific existential crisis. Every new scan, every piece of medical data challenged everything they thought they knew about biological life. A junior researcher named Voxelin discovered something that pushed them over the edge. A human medical record detailing a patient who had survived a combination of injuries that should have been impossible. The final line of the medical report captured the essence of human biological resilience. "Payte and notice. Bit annoying. But I'll be back at work next week." Dr. Renlock leaned back, his sensory tendrils trembling. The Galactic Confederation's understanding of life, of biology, of survival itself, was about to be completely rewritten. Humans were not just a species. They were a biological algorithm of survival that defied every known scientific principle. And they had no idea how terrifying that made them. The Galactic Psychological Evaluation Division had never encountered a species quite like humans. Their preliminary psychological profile began as a standard xenocultural assessment and quickly devolved into what could only be described as a collective nervous breakdown of the research team. Dr. Zora Voxlin, lead synapsepsychologist, stared at the accumulated data with a mixture of professional fascination and primal terror. Humans did not just survive trauma. They weaponized it. The case studies defied every known principle of psychological resilience. Where most species would collapse under environmental stress, humans seemed to draw strength from it. Their coping mechanisms were less a psychological strategy and more a form of emotional alchemy that transformed pure terror into something resembling dark humor. Take, for instance, the deep-sea research incident. The official report detailed a marine expedition where a research team encountered what the humans casually referred to as a small shark. Preliminary alien analysis revealed the creature was 4.6 meters long, possessed multiple rows of serrated teeth, and represented an apex predator that would have sent most species into immediate survival panic. The human lead researcher's log entry read, "Bit annoying. Had to punch it in the nose. Ruined my lunch break." Voxlin replayed the audio log multiple times, each listening making less sense than the last. The researcher hadn't just survived a near-fatal encounter. He had treated it with the same emotional investment one might give to a mild traffic inconvenience. Psychological stress tests revealed even more impossible data. Human stories response analysis. Most species breakdown point, low to moderate environmental stress. Human observed breakdown point, effectively non-existent. Stress conversion mechanism, humor, determination, inexplicable optimism. Another case study involved a group of humans working in what was classified as an active war zone. Traditional psychological models would predict complete mental shutdown. Instead, the humans maintained complex social structures, maintained dark humor, and continued performing intricate technological and social functions. One intercepted communication between human soldiers captured the essence of their psychological resilience. Communication TRANSCRIK. Soldier A. Well, that's the third time this week we've been shot at. Soldier B. Free cardio, I guess. Soldier C. Anyone want coffee? The Galactic Psychological Evaluation Division spent weeks trying to understand this response. Most species would require decades of therapy after such experiences. Humans seem to process extreme trauma through a combination of humor, collective support, and an almost mystical ability to reframe catastrophic experiences. Dr. Voxlin's most shocking discovery came from a series of human cultural artifacts called memes and comedy specials. These were not just entertainment, they were sophisticated psychological survival mechanisms. Humans used humor as a method of processing trauma so effectively it bordered on a superpower. A particular stand-up comedy routine about surviving a life-threatening medical condition left the research team in a state of profound confusion. The human comedian transformed a potentially devastating personal experience into a source of collective laughter and connection. Psychological adaptation models showed humans didn't just survive. They evolved through psychological challenges. Psychological adaptation, MET. Typical species, breakdown under sustained stress, human observed mechanism, stress conversion, collective humor, radical optimism, trauma reframing. The most terrifying conclusion was simple. Humans didn't have a psychological breaking point. Their mental resilience was as impossible as their biological survival. Dr. Voxlin's final report was less a scientific document and more a warning. Human psychological profile. 380 Level. Extreme. Primary survival, nisi ekanism, though aponized optimism. Recomanded akidronen. Du nanot antajuanize. The Galactic Confederation was about to learn that humanity's most dangerous weapon wasn't technology or biology. It was their ability to laugh in the face of apocalypse. The Galactic Engineering Consortium had never experienced a collective existential crisis quite like this. Senior technologist Krenak stared at the recovered human vehicle, a pickup truck, that had been carefully transported to the most secure research facility in the Confederation. What should have been a simple technological analysis had devolved into a months-long investigation that challenged every known principle of engineering. This was not a precision-crafted marvel of advanced technology. This was a mechanical abomination that defied every known law of physics, engineering, and rational design. The truck's repair history was a testament to human technological madness. Forensic engineering analysis revealed a repair log that looked more like an improvised survival manual than a maintenance record. Primary structural damage. Multiple impact zones. Repair materials used. Duct tape, 37.6 linear meters. Baling wire, 12.4 meters. Some kind of epoxy. Exact composition unknown. Zip ties. Countless. Survival modifications. Inexplicable. Operational status. This makes no sense, muttered Dr. Lextor, the lead reverse engineering specialist. The vehicle had survived conditions that would have destroyed most advanced technological systems. Sand, extreme temperatures, impacts that would shatter reinforced alloy frames, and yet it remained operational. The internal combustion engine was a particular marvel of impossibility. Where most advanced civilizations had long since moved to pure energy transfer systems, humans continued to use a technology that was essentially controlled molecular explosion. It was less an engine and more a controlled catastrophe that somehow produced motion. Comparative technological analysis revealed a shocking pattern. Technological development metr. First, Galactic Confederation approach. Precision, optimization, specialization, human-observed approach, improvisation, adaptability, aggressive problem-solving, complete disregard for established engineering principles. The most disturbing discovery came from a set of human engineering manuals and repair guides, where most species required extensive technical training to perform basic repairs. Human documentation suggested a radical approach. Trial and error, combined with an almost mystical understanding of mechanical systems. One particularly revealing repair manual section read, "If it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid." A recovered communication between human engineers captured the essence of their technological philosophy. Communication, HORANSCORIP. Engineer A. The computer's not working. Engineer B. Have you tried turning it off and on? Engineer A. Yep. Engineer B. Have you tried hitting it? Engineer A. Oh yeah, that worked. The Galactic Engineering Consortium spent weeks trying to understand this approach. Their own repair protocols involved complex diagnostic systems, specialized tools, and multiple layers of technological intervention. Humans seemed to solve complex technological problems with what could only be described as aggressive intuition. A case study of human space exploration technology was particularly revealing. Where most civilizations developed increasingly complex systems, humans had sent humans to their moon using computational power less advanced than a modern communication device. Their early space vehicles were essentially sophisticated controlled explosions with minimal safety systems. The Mars rover missions exposed an even more terrifying technological approach. Machines designed for a few months of operation continued functioning for years, decades, beyond their intended operational parameters, not through advanced self-repair systems, but through what seemed like pure, unadulterated determination. Dr. Lextor's final analysis was less a scientific report and more a warning. Human technological assessment 380 level extreme. Primary technological mechanicism. Improvisation. Aggressive problem solving. Complete disregard for established limitations. Do not LND or estimate. The Galactic Confederation was about to learn that humanity's most dangerous technological trait wasn't advanced complexity. It was their ability to make anything work, no matter how impossible it seemed. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Confederation looked more like a battlefield than a diplomatic venue. Holographic displays flickered with increasingly alarming data about humanity, while representative species from across the known universe argued with an intensity that threatened to tear the centuries-old political structure apart. Ambassador Krultak stood at the central podium, his diplomatic training stretched to its absolute limit. "We are facing an unprecedented threat," he began, his translation implant converting his complex linguistic clicks into standard galactic communication. Humanity is not just another species. They are a fundamental disruption to everything we understand about biological, psychological, and technological existence. The chamber erupted. The Vornak delegation, representatives of a species that had dominated galactic politics for millennia, were the first to respond. Their lead ambassador, a crystalline being named Orcs, projected a holographic display of human capabilities. "Look at their potential for destruction," Orcs proclaimed. "A species that can survive a Class 13 Deathworld. A civilization that treats environmental extremes as minor inconveniences. They are not just a potential threat. They are an existential risk." Preliminary threat assessments painted a terrifying picture. The quantum consensus, a collective of hyper-intelligent energy-based life forms, offered a different perspective. Their representative, a shimmering energy construct that barely maintained a humanoid shape, spoke in quantum wavelengths that required complex translation matrices. "They are not a threat to be contained," the quantum representative suggested. "They are a potential evolutionary catalyst. Their ability to adapt, to survive, to transform challenges into opportunities. This is not a weakness to be feared, but a potential galactic resource." Not everyone agreed. The Zinrak Defensive Coalition proposed the most extreme measure, complete and total quarantine of the human species. Their proposal included absolute prohibition of human space travel, complete communication blockade, potential preemptive defensive action. Ambassador Krultak knew the real danger wasn't just human capabilities. It was human unpredictability. A recovered communication intercepted from a human military training exercise captured this perfectly. Communication, TRANSCRIP. Instructor: "What's the mission objective?" Trainee: "Survive and complete the mission." "Sir." Instructor: "And if that's impossible?" Trainee: "We'll make it possible, sir." The debate raged for what seemed like cycles. Each species brought forth evidence of human potential and human danger. The Biological Research Consortium presented case studies of human adaptation. The Technological Innovation Council shared reports of human engineering miracles. The Psychological Evaluation Division presented their terrifying analysis of human resilience. One particularly shocking presentation detailed a human space mission where multiple system failures should have resulted in certain death. The mission log showed the human crew treating the potential catastrophe like a minor inconvenience. Mission log EXCERP. "Houston, we have a problem." 5 minutes later. "Actually, we fixed the problem. Want coffee?" The chamber was divided. Some saw humans as a potential galactic threat. Others saw them as an unprecedented opportunity for evolution and innovation. Ambassador Krultak's final statement cut through the chaos. "We are not dealing with a species that can be contained, controlled, or easily understood. Humanity is not a problem to be solved. They are a fundamental reset of everything we thought we knew about life, survival, and potential." The Galactic Confederation was about to change forever. And somewhere on Earth, humans continued their daily lives, completely unaware of the cosmic panic they had just induced. The joint exploration mission to the Krell-Tax Quadrant was supposed to be a routine planetary survey, a collaborative effort between 6 different galactic species designed to map a potentially habitable system on the edge of known space. No one expected it to become the most comprehensive demonstration of human capability in galactic history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez wasn't particularly concerned when the primary environmental systems began to fail. The mission team consisted of representatives from 6 different species, each considered pinnacle survival experts in their respective civilizations. Zornak atmospheric specialists, Vornak geological adaptation experts, quantum consensus environmental analysts, trilateral survival technicians, Zinrax planetary exploration veterans, 1 human, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, planetary geologist. When the first system failures occurred, the alien team members began their standard catastrophic response protocols: panic, containment, preparation for potential evacuation. Dr. Rodriguez made coffee. Atmospheric filtration, 67% compromised. Thermal regulation, failing. Radiation shielding, intermittent. Structural integrity, multiple breach points. Survival probability, standard galactic metrics, 0.03%. The planet itself was a nightmare of environmental extremes. Toxic atmospheric composition, radiation levels that should have been instantly lethal, temperature variations that would shatter most technological systems, geological instability that made the ground itself seem like a living weapon. Where most species would have immediate evacuation protocols, Dr. Rodriguez began taking geological samples. "We might as well get some research done while we're here," she commented, her environmental suit showing multiple minor breaches that would have killed any other species instantly. The other team members watched in a combination of horror and fascination. Zornak lead specialist Krell-Tax approached her. "We need to initiate emergency evacuation procedures," he said, his translation matrix barely containing his panic. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her sample collection. "Give me 20 minutes," she responded. "I want to finish analyzing these mineral compositions." Survival strategy comparison. Standard galactic species response. Immediate evacuation. Human observed response. Continue mission objectives. Treat catastrophic failure as mild inconvenience. Brew coffee. Collect scientific data. When the primary communication systems failed, the alien team members began their catastrophic communication protocols. Dr. Rodriguez jury-rigged a communication device, using what appeared to be nothing more than a multi-tool, a piece of broken equipment, and what the other team members could only describe as pure determination. The repair process looked less like sophisticated technological intervention and more like aggressive problem-solving. "Huh," she muttered. "This should work, probably." It worked perfectly. The mission log would later reveal a communication that perfectly captured the moment. Mission communication log. Krell-Tax. "We are experiencing catastrophic system failure." Dr. Rodriguez. "Yep. Want some coffee?" When the primary environmental systems completely failed, the alien team members began preparing for what they believed was certain death. Dr. Rodriguez began cataloging rock samples and making informal notes about planetary composition. The final assessment came down to one fundamental truth: where other species saw certain death, humans saw an interesting research opportunity. Mission survival analysis. Projected survival time. Alien species, 12 minutes. Actual survival time. Entire mission duration. Primary survival mechanism. Human indifference to impossible conditions. The rescue team that eventually retrieved the mission participants found them in a state of absolute confusion. The human researcher was completing her research notes. The alien team members were in various states of psychological shock. Dr. Rodriguez's mission report was a masterpiece of understatement. Mission report. Interesting planetary conditions. collected significant data, recommend further exploration. Also, the coffee was good. The Galactic Confederation would spend years trying to understand how a single human researcher had not just survived, but thrived in conditions that should have been instantly fatal. Somewhere, Dr. Rodriguez was probably making another cup of coffee, completely unaware of the cosmic panic she had just induced. The Galactic Confederation Emergent Species Summit was supposed to be a routine diplomatic gathering. It became the moment everything changed. Ambassador Krultak stood at the central podium, the weight of 1,000 worlds pressing down on his diplomatic appendages. The comprehensive report on humanity was more than a document. It was a fundamental re-examination of what sentient life could be. "We are not dealing with a species," he began, his voice resonating through the translation matrices. "We are dealing with a force of nature." The holographic displays flickered to life, revealing the comprehensive analysis of humanity. Humanity. Galactic impact ASETSSNIANT. Biological resilience. Beyond classification. Psychological adaptability. Unprecedented. Technological innovation. Unpredictable. Evolutionary potential. Infinity. The summit representatives from across the known galaxy sat in a collective state of stunned silence. The Vornak delegation, who had dominated galactic politics for millennia, looked particularly shell-shocked. The quantum consensus representatives flickered with what could only be described as existential uncertainty. Dr. Renlock, the lead xenobiologist, presented the biological findings. Each slide was more impossible than the last. Radiation tolerance that defied known physical limitations. Cellular regeneration that resembled active evolutionary adaptation. Immune systems that didn't just defend, they actively learned and improved. The technological assessment was equally terrifying. Humanity had gone from first-powered flight to interplanetary exploration in less than a century, a progression that would take most species millennia. They don't just survive. Dr. Lextor from the Technological Innovation Council explained. They transform impossibility into opportunity. A recovered human communication perfectly captured their approach. Intercepted communication. Scientist A, that's impossible. Scientist B, hold my coffee. The psychological profile was perhaps the most disturbing revelation. Humans didn't just survive trauma, they weaponized it. Their ability to find humor in the most catastrophic circumstances was less a coping mechanism and more a fundamental survival strategy. Psychological adaptation, METRICS. Stress response. Convert to determination. Survival mechanism. Aggressive optimism. Threat processing. Humor as weapon. The diplomatic implications were profound. Humanity wasn't just another species to be categorized or controlled. They were a fundamental reset of galactic understanding. Ambassador Krultak's final recommendation was both a warning and a recognition. Humanity Galactic Integration Protocol. Do not attempt to contain. Do not underestimate. Prepare for fundamental paradigm shift. The quantum consensus representative, a being of pure energy and complex mathematical patterns, spoke last. Humanity represents more than a species. They are an evolutionary catalyst. Where most civilizations optimize, they reimagine. Where others see limitations, they see challenges. Their potential is not just biological or technological. It is conceptual. The summit's final resolution was unprecedented. Galactic Confederation emergency resolution. Humanity to be recognized as emergent civilization. Full diplomatic and technological exchange protocols. Mandatory cultural studies for all galactic species. Somewhere on Earth, humans continued their daily lives. A construction worker fixed a broken machine with duct tape. A scientist solved a complex problem over coffee. A student dreamed of impossible things. They had no idea they had just fundamentally altered the course of galactic civilization. The final transmission from the summit captured the essence of this new reality. Humanity is not a species to be understood. They are a force to be witnessed. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Footnote: preliminary human cultural research suggests this would be met with a casual shrug, and possibly followed by an offer of coffee.